All right. And I guess just to quickly have it on recording, these two things are exactly the same. Whether you use destructuring or you just straight pull the properties and methods out of the object by doing it this way. This is the newer way of doing it, which I recommend, to be honest. And this is like the older way of doing it. Either way works. I see both of them like written. I see people using both of them. But like if you go to an interview and you start using this version of it, they're gonna look at you like, okay, like you're up to date with the newer JavaScript. So yeah, that's the benefit to using object destructuring as opposed to just pulling it out just the regular way. So
I have a quick question. This might be silly, but so when we're like doing this at home and we're following your videos, but then say we're like on the job and there, you know how there's like multiple ways to do one thing, just like here. Does it become easier to like decipher which one is more efficient? Like through time, is that something we learn? Or like, because it's hard to pick up now. Obviously, like I'm just going by what you teach in the class and like, oh, I've seen this. But then obviously, the minute you type it into like you go to like W3 schools or anything, there's a million different ways to do it. And like, will that get easier with time and just, I guess, experience?
yeah, honestly, it's really just you just really develop your own like style of writing code. I think that's what it comes down to. Um, there's a lot of different ways to write the same thing, and it's always good to just see how it's done once or twice. So when you see it again, you know. But yeah, over time, you would just develop your own way of writing code. I think that's the best way to answer it. But as far as like efficiency, I wouldn't worry too much about efficiency. Like not at least not right now. I don't worry about efficiency too much when I'm coding on a job. Um, Not for the front end anyway. Now, if I mean if we start getting into like the back end, that's like stuff that we're not going to touch for this class. Um, that's when you start really getting into like efficiency and stuff like that. But as far as JavaScript, on the front end, it's fine. However you write it is however you write it. So just look
Okay.
more impressive if you use it, if you use the newer features.
Okay, yeah, because I feel like our focus right now, after you saying that, of course, is like just make it as clean as possible so anybody can pop in and understand.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, but yeah, I've seen it both ways. So um, yeah, this one was a pretty simple one. I mean, it's literally only one function. I'm assuming the video was probably like 10 minutes long or probably less than that to be honest. But um yeah, I'm glad it didn't really give too many people like issues. Um but that honestly does speak towards like the experience y'all getting so far. Like imagine what 2 3 months ago if I showed y'all this, y'all wouldn't have known. Well, some of you wouldn't have known what this stuff was, and now you're able to like see it and now ask questions about like what style I should use, like really start to like to dig deeper with like the syntax. And that's where that's the path where we're supposed to be. So yeah. Um,
Yeah, it is getting easier to start recognizing some of the things over and over again,
mhm.
and it's starting to become second place.
Right, right. Yep, and it's definitely gonna get like that. Um, any other questions about anything? Any of the videos give y'all a hard time or like yeah, I can answer anything. Okay. If not, I'll just jump into this mediation app. I honestly thought about skipping this one because I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure how much more value it's going to bring. There's a lot of like repeat stuff. Like we do a lot of like document, get element by ID, like, and there's no real new like concepts there. Like it's really up to y'all. If y'all want review, I'll go over the mediation app. Um, I mean, if y'all want to move on from there, then we can just do the memory game and start from there. I guess we can just do like a quick vote. If you want me to go over the mediation app, you can just raise your hand. Let me stop sharing so I can see everyone. So if you want me to, if you want me to go over the mediation app, just put a raise your hand on the thing. Okay.
Oh,
1, 2, 3. So we got 3 hands. All right, it's about even. So I'm gonna just go over. I'm gonna just go over the mediation app. Let me bring this up. The way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna just go through the solution, and I'm gonna go through it with the debugger. The reason I'm doing it that way is because it's probably gonna take more than like the class time that we have to go over it. But I'm gonna break everything down, and please ask questions as I go.
all right, Dad. We'll move my share screen till Sunday then.
Okay, right. You was supposed to, right? Yeah, we'll do it Sunday then. And Sunday we're gonna start on that. We're gonna start on the game. So I feel like those would teach y'all a lot more. Hold on, I'm just checking something in the drive. Then I'll share my screen. Okay. All right, I'll share my screen. So okay. All right. First, I'm going to bring it up in the browser just so we can see what it is. All this app really does is it's supposed to like it's so what it's supposed to do like for you is just teach you how to manipulate the DOM a little bit more, just a little bit more practice with it, and practice with using set timeout. Remember, set timeout gives you like it helps you like delay certain things, like delay the code being used, like this one here, this set timeout. But let me press start. The mediation app basically it's just like a breathing exercise. Whenever it shows the up arrow, you breathe in, and whenever it shows the down arrow, you can breathe out. Um, the motivation, I mean, the motivation for this app is because I have this app on my smartwatch, and like I use it like every now and then, and it helps to just like meditate or like just kind of like breathe. Um, and I figured it would be a good idea to just put it as an app here too. But yeah, that's basically the app, and we breathe in, breathe out. I believe it's like 4 rounds of it, 4 iterations of it. So let me go through the code for it. Um, first, first when y'all trying to, I guess when y'all trying to like figure out how something works, the best place to go is really the dev tools. Like we know that we have to press the start button here. So automatically what I'm thinking is I click this here, and now I'm gonna click this start button because I know that start button has to have an on click. Um, so it does have an on click. We have mediation start button. So from there, I can just go to the code and just go straight to that function. I have it here. Let me make a little bit more space and make this a little bit bigger. Actually, that's too big. So we have it here, mediation start button. And let's just go through the code and see what happens. I'm gonna refresh so that we get the debugger. Actually, I want to share something different. Bring a little bit more value to this. I removed the debugger from here. I'm gonna do this a different way. I'm gonna go to the sources, right? When you go to source, you can see all of the code that is on the browser or website or whatever. So I go to source, and now I'm going to click this button right here. This is going to open up like a file tree. In this file tree, I can see that I have my files here. So in like user Isaiah Harrison desktop, like this is my desktop folder. So within that desktop folder, I have um, there's more stuff here too. Let me actually put this in its own window so we can see it. Dashboard, percent sign. Let me show you the actual folder. It's dashboard 3, right? Dashboard 3. Now the reason we see percent sign 20 is because percent sign 20 is like an encoded way. It's called encoded, or like a representation of a space. Every time you have a space, you see percent 23. Y'all might even see this like in like URLs and stuff like that. Not something that you should necessarily remember, but it's just good to know whenever you see percent sign 20. Now you know like what it means. It's just a space. So within this dashboard 3 folder, we have all of our files here: assets, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and reset CSS here. So let me attach this back. Actually, before I attach it back, I'm going to open up this JavaScript folder. And this JavaScript folder is literally the exact same thing we have in the dev tools. Let me put them side by side. So the JavaScript folder here in the dev tools, and that same JavaScript folder is here in VS Code. The exact same one with all of the files that's inside of it. Before we move on, I want to show y'all something just so y'all can see, like for debugging purposes, right? Like here, right? We see main.css, right? We can see that main.css is here, but if I go to this, if I go here, right? And let's say I delete this. Let's say I forgot to link the main.css. If I go back and I refresh, I'm gonna be wondering like what happened to my CSS file, right? It's not here. But if I go to the source tab and I go to the files, I see that main.css is not here. Like if ever y'all don't see the CSS file, this is a way to debug it. Like it's not here because it was never linked. The only thing that shows up here is everything that's linked to the HTML file. If it's not linked to the HTML file, it's not going to be here. Same with all of the JavaScript files. If I remove one of those script tags, it's going to be removed from this folder, even though it's inside of VS Code. So let me put that back. I'll save that, come back here and refresh, and we're going to see main.css shows back. Okay. All right. So remember I took out that debugger. That debugger was inside of where is it? Mediation JS. I can just go straight to the file here. I don't even have to write debugger in there. I can just go down to this function and just click here. And this is a debugger also. So you can either write it in the code or you can write it here. Whatever you feel like is the best way for you to do it. I go both ways, to be honest, with whatever's more convenient. If I already got this open, I'll put it here. If I got the code open, I'll put it inside of the code. So let me open this up and click on start. And it stops here as expected. So let's go through this code. All right, so just by, I'm gonna go to VS Code so that it looks a little bit more clear. I'm gonna try to make this interactive. Just by looking at this line, right? Like, can somebody tell me like what this is doing? Line 45, like what do y'all think this line is doing? Like you, without even like looking at all of the pieces, just kind of like trying to get clues from what you're seeing here.
Is in the meditation button, we're getting the element to get by ID.
Yeah.
Like starting the the start button for the meditation.
Yeah, this is the start, but like
Add and display none.
Is it returning
Is
the
it?
button itself?
It's adding and removing the start button, isn't it?
right. Well, it's adding or removing some class. Remember, class is how you add or remove like classes. If I look at this, right, like when I see this, if I never like saw this before, I would think that this is a variable because this is not in quotes. Like it's not like defined anywhere. So my first thought would be, let me look for this inside of this file. Like where's display none? And to do that in VS Code, you can either hold control and then click the variable, or command if you're on Mac and click this variable. And it's going to take you directly to where this is at. So it's on line 1. We know that this is display none, like it's the text display none. So we can just think of this as the text display none. We're adding a class of display none. So that's what we're doing there. Now, if we look at this, we know that this is not in the file either. This get by ID. VS Code is supposed to do that same trick where you click command and click the function and go to it, but for some reason it's not doing it for me. But we know that that's inside of the util folder. So get by ID is here. It's literally doing this document.get element by ID. That's what that is. So we're getting something by ID. The ID that we're getting, like the element it comes from here. Like this is like the ID of that element. And again, like this has to be a variable somewhere. And just by looking at it, we know that this is some object. So meditation string dot, that's how we know it's an object, dot meditation start. So I'm just going to do command and I'm going to click this and it's just going to take me directly to it. We know that that is meditation start. Meditation strings dot meditation start. It just gives us back a string. So essentially what we're doing on this line is we're getting by ID, we're getting meditation start by ID, and we're adding a class of display none. And like when we add this class, like the next thought that should come to mind is like, what is this class doing? Now, obviously it says display none, but some class names is not going to like be as obvious. So what I would do, since I know that this says display none, I'm going to search for this inside of the whole this whole folder, because let's say I had more than just 2 CSS files. If I had like a whole bunch of them, I would have to do a search in this whole folder. And the way you search the whole folder is by clicking on this search glass. So I'm gonna click this search glass. I'm gonna paste in display none, and I can see that like there's a reference to display none in a few different files. I'm looking for something inside of a CSS file. So this HTML file is not it. So I'm just going to collapse that. We can see a CSS file here. I'm just going to collapse this JavaScript file because that's not it either. So I can see that it's here, display none. And the display none class basically puts display none on a CSS element. Display none removes it from the screen. The whole process that I just went over is literally exactly what I do at work all the time. Somebody tell me to fix a bug. I go to the page, I inspect it. I figure out which function is being fired. Then I go to that function and I look at it, try to figure out where all the variables are inside of the function. and I try to figure out what everything means by just doing this search right here. Remember when I was saying that like there can be thousands of lines of code, and like literally there's thousands of lines. You want to make use of this search. I use this search all the time, like literally, like I can't fix stuff without this search, because I have to figure out where something is inside of the inside of all of these files. So always use that. And a shortcut to use it for anybody that likes shortcuts, it's on Windows, it should be Control Shift F, and on Mac is Command Shift F. If I click that, it opens it up directly inside of there. So I'm gonna close this, I'm gonna click it again, and we can see it opens up the search. So however you want to do it is fine. All right, so we're adding a display none class to whatever has an ID of meditation start. So let me try to figure out what has the ID of meditation start. That's inside of the HTML file. I'm gonna highlight this, Command Shift F to search it. I'm gonna close these because I don't need these ones. I found it inside of index.html, and I can see that this has the ID of meditation start. Let me close this, which happens to be that start button here. I mean, y'all guessed it in the beginning, but I'm just showing y'all, like, you know, just in case you're not sure where it's coming from. So yeah, that basically added a class of display none. We can see that it was removed from the screen. And now we're about to add, we're about to go to the next line, which is here. And we're going to remove a class of display none from whatever element this is. So I'm gonna figure out which string that is. No, this one here. And figure out which string this one is. Meditation directions, and it's here. So something has the ID of meditation directions inside of the HTML file. So I'm gonna do a find, and I'm gonna go straight to the HTML file here, and I can see that this div, it's kind of hard to see because it's like wrapping around. And this is like actually another opportunity to start making things look a little bit different, just so that it's more readable. You might see people do this with the HTML. Put that on the next line. Put this down here. Now we can see that this is div. This is clearly a div with 3 attributes, and this is the one with that meditation directions. So, and it also has a class of display none, which we're about to remove right now. So what I should expect on the screen is to see this. Breathe in when you see up, and breathe out when you see down. Click to start. I should see that whenever I go past this line. I'm gonna click play, and that's exactly what we see on the screen. So it's telling me, any questions on that before I move on? Okay. So it's telling me to click to start, right? When it's telling me to click something, I'm just going to inspect it. Now I'm gonna inspect it, and I'm gonna try to figure out where the on click is. Like, where do we have on click somewhere? And we do have an on click. Meditation start. So I'm gonna go to meditation start. I'm gonna go inside of here, and I'm gonna find it. We can see that it's here. Oh, I did a control find, by the way. You can do a control find, and it pops up down here. So Command F or Control F. I'm gonna paste that in, and I can see it here. I'm just gonna put my debugger here, so I won't do that in the code. And I'm gonna click this. Now we're on this line here. I'm gonna go back to the HTML. That's on line 49. I'm gonna go back to the JavaScript. Line 49 here. So by looking at this, we can see that we're doing the exact same thing we did here, up here. We're adding a class of display none. And we're going to add that class to whatever this is. Meditation directions happens to be the exact same thing that we just removed the display none class. So now we're about to add it back. And when we add that back, it's going to remove it from the screen. So if I go back to the browser and go to the next line, I should see this disappear. So now it disappears. And now we're over this start meditation function. I'm gonna go inside of that because I know that this is calling this function. I'm gonna go in it with this downward button. There's, make sure it's nothing in the chat. Okay, nothing in the chat. Okay, so I'm gonna press this downward button to go inside of that. And I can see that I'm inside of start meditation. I'm gonna go to the go back here and just go to it from here so we can see it a little bit better. I'm gonna zoom in. Yeah. So this is the function that we're currently in. Now we're going to run all of this code right here. It's a lot of stuff going on here, but I'm gonna try to break it all down. So we have this delay variable. It starts off at 0, right? And after we initialize that variable, we start going into this for loop. This for loop is going to loop 4 times. I is going to start at 0. It's going to go up to 4, and you will do the I plus plus. And inside of that, we're going to run a set timeout. Remember, set timeout takes a function as the first parameter, and it takes a delay as a second parameter. So when it gets here, it's gonna call this function, which is gonna call this function after a delay of 0 seconds. And then after it runs that, it's going to go to this line. Like after it sets this up, not run it. After it set this up with a delay of 0, I'm gonna just write that here. The first delay of 0 is going to take that delay variable and add 6,000 to it. So 6,000 milliseconds, which is 6 seconds. And then since we know that this is a loop, it's going to go back to the top of the loop. And then it's going to set this up again. And the reason I keep saying it's setting this up is because this isn't going to be run until after 6 seconds. Even this one that says 0 seconds, this is not going to automatically run, because like this JavaScript code runs, it does a basically it waits for all of the JavaScript to run before it starts to run this, even though this says 0. The JavaScript code takes priority over this set timeout. Anyway, for the second iteration, we're at 6,000 milliseconds. I'm just going to say 6 seconds. We're at 6 seconds. So we're going to set this up with 6 seconds, where we're going to call show arrows. And then we're going to add 6,000 more milliseconds to it. So now our delay is 12 seconds when we go back to the top. So now we're back to the top. Now we're going to set this up again with 12 seconds. And then we're going to add 6,000 more milliseconds. And that's going to take us to 18 seconds. And then we go back to the top of the loop, and I should be at 4 at this point. And because 4 is not less than 4, it's going to break out of this for loop. And then it's going to go inside of this one here. And after the delay, which is 6 seconds, it's going to call this reset meditation. Now I'm going to show y'all I just wanted to explain what this is doing before I show you on the dev tools. But let me go back to the dev tools and I'm gonna put a few debuggers here. I'm just gonna put a debugger here, and I'm gonna put a debugger here so that when I hit play, it's gonna stop at either this line or this line, whichever one runs first. And it should be this one because we have that first delay of 0. So I'm gonna hit play and it goes to this first one here. I'm gonna go inside of that, show arrows, right? Show arrows. I'm gonna put a debugger here also just to put it there. Show arrows calls this show breathe in function. I'm gonna go inside of that to see what's there. Show breathe in. All this does is it removes a class of display none from breathe in. Let's see what breathe in is. Let me go to that function inside of here. Right. Or click breathe in. That's here. So this is going to affect something with an ID of breathe in. I'm going to do that find. Click here. This is breathe in here. This div is breathe in. It's not really saying like what this look like per se, but if you start to really inspect it, it has an idea of breathe in. So that must mean something somewhere. And I'm gonna just do another search and I can see that there's a reference to it inside of CSS also. So if I go here, go to this reference, I can see that there's 2 CSS rules associated with breathe in. One has a background image. So we should probably expect something with a background image to show up. And that background image is inside of the assets folder. It's called inhale.png. Let's go to the assets folder to see what that looks like. You have inhale.png, and that literally is just the up arrow. So what this essentially looks like is just an up. It's just like a picture of an up arrow. That's all that really is. If I go back to the JavaScript, which it was show breathe in here, here. So it's going to remove this display none from show breathe in. It's going to add display none to breathe out. And breathe out is just it's right next to it in the HTML. It's just the downward arrow. It's the exact same CSS minus the background. And, just to show y'all, the background is what is it? Exhale. That's the downward arrow. So it's gonna add a class of display none to this. If we go to the HTML, we can see that it already has a class of display none. So whenever you try to add a class that's already there, it's just not going to add it. The reason I'm doing is because we're going to be doing this back and forth where we're adding it and removing it. And I just want to make sure it's actually removed from the screen whenever I add the up arrow. So click this. We can see that it starts to show on the screen here. It's starting to show up. And I'm going to click play. I'm gonna go inside of this, and I'm gonna put the debugger here, right? And look at this. This is 3 seconds. So we know that this is going to happen after 3 seconds. And if I go back to the JavaScript where I was writing all those seconds down, we had 0, 6, 18, and we had 0, 6, 12, and 18. Now we're starting to get like the in-between seconds. So we'll have 3 seconds here. And then once we go back to that function, we'll have 9 seconds, something to run after 9 seconds. And then we'll have something that runs after 15 seconds. You can see that something runs every 3 seconds. We have 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And what's going to run on an in-between is this show breathe out. So show breathe out is going to run here, and show breathe in. Show breathe in is going to run here. So we can start to see like how we're even getting that like breathe in, breathe out sort of back and forth, because it happens literally every 3 seconds. Something else shows on the screen. But I'm gonna hit play. I'm gonna leave that there. Hit play. I feel like, hold on, let me just hit play one more time. Yeah, it's not really showing a downward arrow. And like the reasons I'm showing that is because like we're in the dev tools, and it's hard to go back and forth between the up arrow and the downward arrow, because technically the time already went past. Yeah, and everything's getting kind of messed up. So it's kind of hard to debug this. But the point is, we show the up arrow, we show the down arrow, we show the up arrow, we show the down arrow. And to make this, let me I'll put a debugger here. And see, yeah, everything got messed up because we was in DevTools. This is something to look out for. The DevTools, it does help you, but like it can only help you so much. Like sometimes it messes up your code, because it's just not, it's not expecting to do this like stopping thing. I click it here. I mean, obviously we see that it actually works. The up arrow, then down arrow, up arrow, then down arrow. And to let me get out of this, because that's just going to mess it up. If you must debug this, instead of doing the debuggers, what we can do is use the console. I think this is a good place to use that. So every time we do breathe in, I'll just do a console log of show breathe in, so that we know we just called that function right there. And every time we do this show breathe out, we'll log this one instead. And just to make this more obvious, I'm just gonna put pluses for breathe in and put minuses for breathe out, like a line, so we can differentiate which one is being called. Let me not forget these semicolons. Just do a refresh. So breathe in is called, and breathe out is called, and you can see it matches up with the picture that's on the screen. Breathe in, breathe out. So it's called 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So there's 4 iterations of this, and then it stops. That's basically the meditation app. I really encourage y'all just to look at like the code on your free time, just to really get it. But yeah, that's basically it. Any questions on any of this stuff?
Can you go, oh, sorry. Can you go over the line where it's the I think it's 44. We're like giving a value to I. Just like break it down, because I've like looked up I plus plus. I understand like that's the value after we're adding that time. Is that correct?
Right.
If you could just break that down really quick. I'm gonna have to look it up a few times.
Yeah. So with I, right? I is gonna, since we're in this for loop, I is gonna start at 0. Like, so basically, I guess to go back to the beginning, the reason we even have I in here to begin with and all these conditions is to tell JavaScript how many times we want to loop over this code block. How many times do we want to run this code block? So this code block is going to be run 4 times because I is going to start off at 0 whenever it's here at the top. It's going to go down to the bottom, and then it's going to go back up to the top, and then it's going to increment to 1. So then I is going to equal 1. So when I equals 1, it's going to do this check here. It's going to say, okay, is I less than 4? Yes, that's true. Because that's true, we're going to continue to run this code block. We're going to run this again. We'll go down to the bottom, we're going to go back to the top, and then we're going to increment it again. So now I is 2. Then it's going to check here again. Okay, is I less than 4? Yes, it is less than 4. So let's run this again. It's going to run this all the way down, all the way through, go back to the top, increment I again. So now I is 3. It's going to say, okay, is 3 less than 4? Yes, 3 is less than 4. That's true. So we're going to run this again. Run all of this. We're at the bottom, and then we're going to go back to the top, and then we're going to increment I again. Now I is 4. It's going to say, okay, is 4 less than 4? No, that's false. 4 is not less than 4. 4 is equal to 4. It's not less than. So all of these were true. That was true. This was true. All those conditions was true. And that's why we ran this. But because the condition is false, now it's going to jump out of this loop. And it's going to go down to the next line. It's going to go down to line 56. So we effectively ran it 4 times from 0 to 3.
Is that considered a Boolean?
This one here,
Yeah,
Yeah.
since it's like, okay.
it's a comparison operator. It's like one of those, remember those
True or false, like yes or no type.
like all of those less than,
Yes.
greater than, equal to, like triple equals, all of those are comparison operators. Yeah. Just put that here in the comment. But yeah, so this can be anything, like whatever kind of Boolean you want to put in there, you can put in there. It just has to be a Boolean. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Well, we're at 8. We're at 8 o'clock. Recommendation, if some of the stuff didn't look right, I'll go over it. And when I mean like some of the stuff, I mean like even in the way we went through the dev tools, going through the source tab, looking at the different files. Like remember we was like, okay, if we didn't link the main.css, like it not being there, I would just like remove it, go here, refresh, see if it's there or not, like just to like mess around with it. Even mess around with like putting a debugger like inside of the code here. And I want y'all to realize I'm trying to something I didn't intentionally check, but or teach. I'm trying to put the debugger here, and you can see that it's not going there. The debugger can only go on lines that's being run or that's being executed. You can say it can go here because this is where we're defining the function, but this is the value of the function, so we can't put a debugger like inside of like where the value of the function is. So y'all might run into places where you try to put the debugger, and if you put it here, what it's literally going to do is put it right underneath it. Like it's going to go to the next best line where JavaScript is being executed or being run some kind of way, which is line 42 in this case. But yeah, practice with the debugger there. What was it here?
So Isaiah, is really that the debugging just a preference, whether you want to do it through sources or whether you want to do it through the console? I mean, it's really just kind of up to you.
Right.
And my next question is, when do you really kind of figure out you've gone too far? You know what I mean? Because, you know what I mean? Like, just like you saw some bugs start happening and you was like, let me get out of here. Like, when do you kind of feel that or pick that up? Like,
Yeah. Um, that I'm not even sure how to answer that question, to be honest. I feel like it might just come with like just doing this stuff over and over. Like the reason I knew in this case was because we were using the set timeout. And I was like the whole time I'm going through it, I'm thinking to myself, like, I hope these set timeouts like fire when they're supposed to, because like the dev tools and like these set timeouts, they sometimes conflict with each other. Now most of the time you're not going to see those conflicting things, but with the set timeout, you're gonna see it. Obviously, we just saw it. So I would just say like um, if you see something messing up or something that you probably just don't expect, I would just run it without being in the dev tools first to see what happens, and then run it inside of the dev tools to see if you get the same sequence of things happening in the app.
Okay.
Um, so yeah. Oh, and also get practice using this search because this is gonna like help a lot. Like there's been times where I could not figure out how to find a bug, and like I'm searching through everything. Like I'm going through every instance of like where a variable is being called until I finally find where that bug is. And it really just takes me just searching everything. Um, I would even look at something like this. You see how it says start right here? Like if I really didn't know how to find that inside of the HTML, I might just do a search of start and see where start is being used. And I start using these. That start has uppercase S, and I can press this to match the case, and I can press this to match like the word length, and it filters out that list. So now the case and the word length matches. And click on that, and it automatically brought me to the start inside of the HTML. So just make use of these, just play around with it. Um, it's gonna help y'all debug, be more efficient. All right.
One last question. When you were using the Finder, you were basically looking for different files because you was like, no, I needed a CSS file. Like, how were you differentiating that based on what you were looking for? Like,
Right. So when we were in the JavaScript, I saw we were like adding the class or removing the class. So I knew that was inside of CSS file, and we can see that this one is main.css, got the .css extension.
okay.
Yeah. So just little clues like that. It's all really a big puzzle. all of this stuff is literally like a puzzle, like just coding in general. If you good with puzzles or you just like solving stuff, this is like that's all this really is. So. All right, I'll see everyone on Sunday. I'll stick around in case anyone have any questions.
Are we moving on to the next project, basically?
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. So next, before everybody go, we will be moving on to the memory game. We're gonna do the memory game on Sunday. And you'll be Duran, you'll be the share screen. Y'all just gonna do this together as a group. And so yeah, so just get through the memory game. Tic-tac-toe, we'll start that on Tuesday, but we won't finish that until Sunday because that's a really long app. Um, yeah, so I will just get through the memory game. And if you're bored and you just want to do more stuff, I mean, you can just keep going through it also. Like, it's always good to get through more of it anyway. Yeah, and I'm gonna write that down in the drive also, what to do.
Ooh, appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Talib, I see your thing in the chat. Can you send the link for the hackathon?
Oh, yeah.
No, don't you?
That's food. Eat.
Yeah. Tyler, did you want to say any words with that? So with those meetings, I know if y'all give him if y'all give your the email to Tyler, he can like email you a Zoom invite to the meeting, where we'll, I guess, talk about like answer any questions for anyone, and you'll see the other people there as well. So, and yeah, he put the link to the website.
Absolutely. I appreciate. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Excellent. I appreciate that that encouragement to mention it. We have some amazing people who, like, our own teacher, are really knowledgeable. So it's a good opportunity to network with other senior developers and cybersecurity experts in the field. So we invite you guys to join us so we can, it will be another feather, in both our teachers' hat, as well as, to support the youth that we're seeking to mentor.
Mr. Talib, I just dropped my email in the chat for you.
Okay, cool. Did you get the link for the for the sign up?
Yeah, I just got it now.
Okay. So you can sign up, and you'll get a welcome email with the invite to join the meeting tomorrow. That meeting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Is it 7 or 8 p.m. maybe? Oh, I'll actually pull it up right now so I can tell you. It is tomorrow at, it's actually Thursday at 7 p.m.
Well, that's even better. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Actually, Isaiah.
Money and stuff.
Yeah. Isaiah, I do have one more question. Do you have any advice on how to study for your course?
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried a couple different ways. First, I was just like watching the videos and taking notes. But like how I was taking notes were like first I would listen to the steps that you're saying, and then on the bottom of that, like do the examples of each step. And that wasn't bad at first, but I don't know. I feel like I need to change it. I don't know.
It does, like, it ramps up, like the projects get harder and harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, people, like other people like that's not in this class or like are talking like they're like, oh, like it's really hard. You should see the comments I get. Like people message me. They'll tell me that it ramps up. But like I mean the best way to do it is literally to just do like a play pause. Like you gotta go through the video little by little. Like if it's something that I do and you don't understand what it is, just like stop at that point. Like try to figure out what that is and then move on from there, because there's a lot of like moving parts when it comes to like these parts, especially when you start getting into the game. It's crazy. With tic-tac-toe, that's the most complicated one. Just in terms of like the moving pieces. But yeah, I would just like stop, start, And like to be honest, like the only reason like let me see how the best to say this, like if someone else wrote the code for the course, like and literally built the exact same apps that I built, but in their own way, it's going to take some time to go through it. Like the reason I know how to go through it is because I wrote it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like, okay, now I gotta get into their mind. I gotta break it down piece by piece to try to figure out how to do this. But like that skill is something that you're gonna want to know how to do. Now, obviously, no one knows how to do it perfectly because it's hard to understand someone's like intentions.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I would just try
Okay.
to break it down little by little, try to understand the pieces little by little. And if you do get stuck, um, when I mean stuck, if you get stuck more than like an hour on something, like put it in the chat. Um, Somebody else
Gotcha.
have a question, and I can try to answer it as quick as I can. So,
Okay. All right. Sounds like a plan.
yeah. And it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. So if it's hard,
Okay. Oh, it is. So, no, honestly, no, you really are a good teacher though. Everything that you're saying is clear, and I definitely do. It'd be like a 4-minute video, and I feel like I'll be on it for like 2 hours. So yeah,
yeah, that's what.
I definitely be starting and stopping.
Mhm.
But then sometimes I guess I just gotta work on actually physically doing it. Cause yeah, I mean, yeah, I have to take good notes as well, but then I got to just make sure I backtrack and actually see if I can do it on my own, like
Right.
after learning it. I feel like that's what I'm not doing enough. Um,
Yep, that's literally the exact reason why I do the share screen thing with the class.
yeah, I actually like that. I wasn't mad at that at all. I'm like, even when I did it, I'm like, oh, you know what? I was all nervous at first because I know how much I'm scrambling around, but I'm like, it was definitely beneficial. So yeah, I'm not. That was a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to see how everybody else was studying, just to see if anybody had any good ideas. But yeah, I'll definitely use that.
Yeah.
And yeah, get started on this tic-tac-toe.
You
It
go
is
through.
funny. I finished the meditation today, so that's where I was at. So I'll just continue.
Yeah, it's the memory game is next. So
Oh, memory game. Memory game. My bad. Yeah.
yeah.
My bad. Okay. All right, guys. Y'all have a good night. See y'all on Sunday.
See you.
Mm.
All right. If there's no more questions from anyone else, I'll just end it. All right. See everyone Sunday. Bye.